There is nothing as useless as doing efficiently that which should not be done at all. Peter F. Drucker. What we do here every day is focus on those things that work. That is, following price movement accurately. 10 to 15 minutes a day, that is all we ask. Thank you for all the book purchasers. Thank you for the Patreon members. We appreciate that. Do not forget this next week, that is the first Wednesday in July, we will have our live question and answer call-in session for all of our Patreon members where we take your questions. We also discuss answers to problems that folks keep finding themselves running into, and we analyze the stocks and ETFs that you are interested in to help you with your practice trading. That's in addition to the other big Patreon thing that we do for our members each and every week. Wednesday or Thursdays, I tend to push it to Thursday because that's where we see the more likelihood that the weekly vertical crossovers that are setting up both up and down are more fully formed and less likely to change. Midweek, it's a little bit harder. Those things can change suddenly on you. And we give you 20 of those. That is what we strive for. So far, we've been able to find 20 decent ones every single week to offer to you. And I keep getting feedback from Patreon members that you guys are loving it and having wonderful success in your practice trades. I'm glad to hear that because the weekly vertical crossover is the most powerful thing we have. Let's jump into these charts. We see stocks and bonds up a little bit for the day, not much. Gold down heavy. And Bitcoin up 5.87%. Now, if that were any ETF or stock, that'd be a big deal. Of course, with Bitcoin, it can surge down 10% tomorrow or 15% up the next day. You know, you just don't know at this point. But we'll cover that shortly. Let's first jump to the S&P 500 up 0.05%. So 0.5, 0.5%. We see that price percent oscillator still tracking down, almost flat. Looks like it might be going down a little bit, or it could be that the 50-period moving average line is giving me that look, but it's pretty much flat. Derivative oscillator, pretty much flat, maybe gaining a little bit of momentum for the week. We have a green up candle that is forming, but again, we have this divergence that has been underway for many weeks now. After that weekly vertical crossover, things went up 3 weeks, sliding sideways for 2 weeks, trying to move up this week. Not enough energy, though, for a weekly vertical crossover going up. What's up with the 2-day chart? It's getting closer. The derivative oscillator is going to its second week of green. Green up candle reaching a higher high than the prior week, but still no crossover. How about the half-day chart? We can see where it has just chugged up. I guess we can try to redraw that weakening trend line a little bit. Up in the morning and then slowing down in the afternoon, pulling back a little bit. That's where we are on the S&P. What do we see on the Qs? Looks like the Qs may end the week with a weekly vertical crossover. Didn't quite make it this last week, reaching a higher high. The price percent oscillator may be crossing, derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. That 2-day chart crossed over back on the 7th of June and has just continued to perk up higher and higher. Price percent oscillator spiking up, derivative oscillator going up. At half-day chart, as we continue to track it, went up for what, 2.5 days, and then sideways and down for a day and a half. And over the last 2 days, it has been chugging up. So that's pretty decent. I'll just connect 3 candles there pretty decently going up. Derivative oscillator gaining upward momentum. Price percent oscillator heading up. So we might have a weekly vertical crossover on the Qs. At the end of the week, we'll see what happens. Let's go to 20-year bonds up 0.17%. We see things again just moving up that weekly trend line, little kink there. Things really spiked back on the weekend in the 18th of June, sort of sideways really since then. Price percent oscillator still heading up, derivative oscillator gaining some momentum. 2-day chart That's again where you can see where things peaked back on. Now on the 2-day chart, that represented Monday and that prior Friday. And we can see where things then slid sideways for 4 days. And this latest 2-day candle is trying its best to head up. We will watch, wait, and see just how that continues. If that continues, price percent oscillator eking up slowly, derivative oscillator positive, losing momentum. Half-day chart we can see down in the morning and then gaining a little bit, but still negative on that price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillator still barely negative, losing downward momentum. So we'll see just how TLT continues to chug along. Now, again, folks, don't forget, this appears to be more of the typical summertime trading zone. Volume out of the market, things weak and not all that stable. Not doing that well, difficult trading market, particularly when it comes to these big ETFs. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. This is not the fat time of year. This isn't the fall-winter trading zone. This is the tough time. Sell in May and go away, live to trade another day is an old adage in the market because that's what typically happens in the summertime. Did not happen last summer because of COVID and the recovery, whatever that was about. The government just pumping money into the economy. Who can explain it? I can't. But that was an anomaly. This is more like what we are used to. Let's look at gold. Gold down for the day 1.05%. Looks like we might have a weekly vertical crossover going down in gold at the end of this week. Derivative oscillator is definitely going negative right now, as is the price percent oscillator. Unless gold booms Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, probably going to have a weekly vertical crossover. That may, again, that may stave off a little bit toward the end of the week, or who knows, it may accelerate, but we'll wait and see. So those of you who have taken our 3-part series available to our Patreon supporters in Options Made Simple, the Charting Wealth Way, you might look for jumping into a put trade, a put practice trade at the end of the week on gold. We'll wait, we'll see. And of course, if you've signed up for our texting service for free, you'll get the notification if there is a weekly vertical crossover on gold going down and on the Qs, that's the NASDAQ 100 going up. How do you sign up for that for free? Follow the link in your show notes. You'll see it to the texting service. Just put in your number and say that this is what you want. And again, you text to the number 33222, one big long word, Charting Wealth, and you'll be on that list. We never spam that list. You might get a text 2 times a month, maybe, something like that. So that's what we see happening with gold on the weekly. 2-day has been going down since that weekly vertical. Well, I say it hasn't been going down the whole time. Started going down on the 15th. We can see where things bottomed and then slid sideways, particularly on the 2-day candle ending the 23rd. And the 25th, that was last Wednesday and Friday of last week in June. And then this latest one actually pounding lower. Derivative oscillators about flat, price percent oscillator spiking down. Half-day chart, we can see where it really went down in the morning, recovered a little bit in the afternoon. That's where we are on gold. Lastly, let's look at Bitcoin, popping up a little bit, 5.87% as I said earlier. But we can see on the weekly chart still moving down. We can see this solid green down candle. Now that is not to be confused with an open box green candle, which means up movement. What we have here is a slowdown in the down movement. You can see we're not hitting the low we hit last week yet. And consequently, derivative oscillator continues to lose downward momentum. Price percent oscillator not heading down at the stronger angle it had been. Look at the 2-day. It is actually negative, but heading up on the price percent oscillator. Derivative oscillators been positive now for 10 days. We do have a green spinning top, open box forming there. But again, we're looking to have a 2-day crossover going up, of course, before we have a hope of a weekly vertical crossover. And again, if you're interested in Bitcoin, follow it every day with us. What do we see happening on Tuesday when it comes to the half-day chart? Well, of course, we can see it crossed over back on Monday and has continued to move up on Tuesday. So that's where we are, folks, as we end the day. Hopefully, it'd be great if Bitcoin has hit a bottom, but again, the weekly's not showing us that. The 2-day may lead the way, or it could just chug along and roll right back over. We saw this starting to happen back on, what was that, the 17th, and then they went up for 4 days and then dropped down for 4 days and sideways now for 4 days. We'll wait, we'll see, we'll be patient. God bless, my friends. All the best from the whole team at Charting Wealth World Headquarters.